Hi, this is Dr. Gaby Cora, and welcome to my show, Dr. Gaby's Take, Make Life Interesting. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 11, Pain and Sex. According to the CDC, 50% of U.S. marriages end up in divorce. And as far as we know, the number one reason for divorce is infidelity. Now, the interesting thing to think about this is that emotional pain that we can carry with us will continue to affect the quality of our future relationships. So it's very important for us to try to distinguish that emotional pain and some of the triggers that that emotional pain can have on our future relationships, on our future interactions with other people as well. Will we trust again, for example, or will we doubt ourselves in being able to form a great future relationship? The second point today is the power of sex. How do we face sex again after divorce? Do we go back into sex for love, or do we go back into sex for lust? Or do we go back into sex for both? How do we make those decisions, and how does that emotional pain that I was talking about before impact upon the way that you will go back into sex again? The third point is about letting go and being able to move on. When you are in that kind of a relationship, and you know what, all of us may have been through difficult relationship at a certain point in time, but how easy or tough is it for us to let go and start fresh? Are we still carrying the hurt that we had 20, 30 years ago? And is that still impacting upon our future relationships today? Or have we been able to let go of that past and start fresh and new? So many things. This is going to be a very powerful and interesting interview, and hope you will join me today in Pain and Sex. My guest today is Delaine Moore, author of The Secret Sex Life of a Single Mom, a book that's available everywhere. Hi, I'm Dr. Gaby, and I'm here to introduce you to Delaine Moore. Delane is a mother of 3, divorced, and she's an author of the new book, which is coming out in the spring, called The Secret Sex Life of a Single Mom. The Secret Sex Life of a Single Mom. Delane, so nice to see you again after we met at the National Publicity Summit. Tell me a bit about the secret sex life of a single mom, meaning you. Go for it.
Yes, it's my secrets that are coming out for everyone.
Yeah.
This is actually a book that I wrote after the first year of my divorce. And so that was a year of exponential change. There was infidelity involved at the outset. And therefore, I began this journey with a broken heart and ended up coming back out into the dating trenches. And so this book chronicles not only my sexual awakening, but my evolution during that year of huge change.
So let's go back in time. Let's go to the time in which you were married, you were a housewife, you were a busy mom. What was going on at the time?
Well, I was married for 7 years, and I had 3 children back to back. So, my life was basically all about being a stay-at-home mom. I had always thought that, my life was going to be about being a professional, and I was going to be light years ahead of my mom and her generation. And yet when that family dream came upon me, I fell in love with it hard. And so my life was basically a 24/7 kind of work schedule. My ex-husband worked out of town most of the time, and so most of the work for raising the 3 children fell on my shoulders. But I loved it. I mean, it made me nuts too, don't get me wrong. Like, you get all 3 kids, put in their snowsuits and piled up into the minivan, and then someone pees their pants. It's just those moments where you're like, I can't handle being a mom. mom. Yet I knew that there were many virtues and blessings in it for me, and that as a woman I was growing, and that I was learning things such as, developing virtues of patience and living in the now, and also to understand what the meaning of unconditional love really was, and to act on that every day.
So you were a mom before and you are a mom now. The only difference is that although you spent many nights alone if your husband was out of town, at the same time, some things just drastically changed in your life. You mentioned infidelity. Share with us a little bit of what you discovered.
Well, it came as a total shock to me. I mean, in retrospect, I guess there had been warnings, but I was so insanely busy raising kids. And in my case, it happened with a phone call in the middle of the night. And it was a woman calling drunk, asking for my husband. And it was like, whoa, what's going on? She hung up. She said, I'm just a friend. And then she hung up. And I was actually nursing my newborn at the time. And then obviously I clued in on some level, this isn't right, and there was a confrontation that went down. And so, I decided, though, that I was going to keep the marriage together. I mean, my family meant everything to me. And I resolved I'd just forgive him no matter what. I'd work harder somehow, and I'd continue to love him. I think the most important thing is that a year later, even though I had resolved that I was going to forgive him, I felt it was contingent on my capacity to forgive. I realized that something had changed. And I remember the moment where I was sitting in my minivan, dropped my head on my steering wheel, and I thought, is this it? Is this all my life is meant to be? And a restlessness had begun to grow. It's like, am I really happy?
Let me ask you this. During that time, and you took a year to make that big decision, did he remain loyal and faithful to you, or did you have a feeling that he was still having affairs?
No, I believe that he was committed to me. We did go through some counseling. I mean, this is very serious. I mean, it's not like you just walk out when you've got a family and a life that you've built on the line. And I mean, he invested himself, and he turned off his cell phone more. He tried to be more present. He swore less. He was more involved with the family. I mean, there was no doubting that he was making an effort to be a part of the family, but something inside of me had died. This affair, when it came out, I realized it had gone on throughout my entire third pregnancy. And it was just like my body had just had enough.
So as tough as it was, you decided this is it. And that's what led to the divorce. How long did that take for you?
Actually, no, there is one other thing, and this is something I've only talked about in my book, and I haven't actually talked about this publicly yet.